Hello everyone and welcome back to Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what the story is about today. In today's story, OP says, 20-year relationship broken by my wife. We were high school sweethearts and I just graduated and I met her working in a video store in a small suburb. We were close friends for about 6 months. And eventually it led me to getting up the courage to plant a kiss. And the rest, they say, is history. Unfortunately, this tale has found its way to this video, and we all know that the story did not end well. My soon-to-be ex-wife took off to go to a co-worker's wedding in another state. She told me about the event about 2 weeks prior. I was watching a movie and realized that I misplaced my phone during the day. I was holding my iPad and browsing during the flick and tepidly shifted to find my iPhone feature. Instead of my phone being the first, it was hers. Instead of being out of state, she was at a local bar about 1 hour away that doubles as a popular brewery. They hold weddings there all the time, and I was sure that was it, that I'd find her there with the co-workers. Around 8 p.m. I made it out to the hotel and couldn't find her anywhere. I narrowed the GPS to a certain wing. So I went to the front desk and say, "Gee, my sister was at that wedding earlier and I'm afraid that some guy took advantage of her because she was drunk. Can you give me the room number?" After slight hesitation, they pointed me to the room. My heart raced as I turned a couple of corners, knowing what I was going to find. I knocked on the door and said, "Room service?" I mentioned in the most pleasant tone I could muster while hiding my anger and rage. A male answered, "You must have the wrong room." Immediately, my cover was blown. "I think I have the right effing room. How about you open up so we can have a conversation?" She started texting me knowing that she was caught. She said she will talk to me in the morning and she refuses to come out of the room. Okay, stay the rest of the night with your lover. Got it. I linger for about an hour just to see if they'll come out, and neither emerged, so I gave up. I went and took some photos of her car for some kind of proof and went home for a sleepless night. Next morning, she wanted me to meet her in a public park where she knew there'd be people. She actually said that. Never ever laid a finger on her or raised my voice at her for 20 years, but now it's a concern. Making her wait, I get to the park a few minutes late and realize that my expectations are still off. She's in tears and says she's sorry. Yeah, she's sorry because she was caught. I told her how I found out and she smirked at it. We discussed her coming home and I was both appalled and mesmerized to hear her saying, "I just can't go back to the way things were. I'm so trapped there." Oh, okay, she's the victim here. She spent 3 days in a hotel downtown, probably just spending time with her lover, trying to decide if she should come back home. The AP was in a relationship too, has a 12-year-old son, and maybe that baggage was too much for her. She came home, completely lifeless for a week, would hardly speak to me, demanded we sleep in separate bedrooms. Claims she'll work on this, but she just needs space after all that she's been through. She's done seeing the AP. We do the right thing and start marital counseling. She says she cannot go back to the way things were, but in no way can verbalize why our life wasn't happy or fulfilling enough. Luckily for me, the therapist spots something and directly asked her, "You ended it with AP, right?" Shock and awe. She hadn't. Well, she lied. As I began the slow trawl to the trickle truth, she confessed that she's been with him for at least 1 year prior. It was unbeknownst to me completely. Still happy in the bedroom, and she manipulated me with gifts. At one point, she gave me a watch that was engraved on the underside, "Loving you more every second." She'd remember to send me text messages and calls when out of town on business/trips with AP. Now she has turned off location sharing on all devices and changed all her passwords. Okay, how dare I ask for such a thing when she is so damaged and in mourning? She asked me for an open relationship, and that'll fix everything. I'm just in a terrible mental state and shamefully said yes. I think I know that it's over, but don't know how to get myself to agree. The therapist said she needs to break it off with AP. Still, no word on that. She vows never to go back to therapy because that lady was mean to her. This woman who loved me and shared the utmost intimacy, all of a sudden doesn't want anything to do with me. It's the darkest period I can recall in my life. We have physical relations, but when we are done, she says she just needed to get off, like we never really loved each other. I make a move and I download Tinder and go on a couple of dates. I was super transparent before meeting up with these ladies. One told me if I finalized the divorce to give her a call because I'm a great guy. The other took me home to her bed. I wished I would have waited simply because this gave my wife firepower and mild justification for her activities. The same weekend she goes on an overt camping trip with her AP, tells me about it in the name of transparency. Meanwhile, doesn't validate anything else I'm asking about. It was this setup that made me continue to feel worthless and why I met with the Tinder fling. By Monday, I've had enough. Astonishingly, I'm still willing to work through it and repair the marriage that isn't there. She goes on a business trip and at this point, I really have no idea what's going on. There is absolutely zero trust. I call her and demand, you leave this man, you commit to loving me, you rebuild the trust immediately, or I'm leaving before you get home. She responded that she just wasn't sure she could do all those things. It is no longer a marriage, but a disaster that needs a cleanup crew. While she was away, I packed all my necessary belongings, grabbed the dog, and moved in with some friends. She really didn't think that I'd do it. She called me sobbing that night. Why had I moved my stuff out? I told her she better act soon, that after nearly 2 months of dealing with this, she needed to make a decision. I could no longer live with her as a part of this situation and that time is expiring shortly. I told her that in 2 months or less, I'd be probably filing for divorce. She responded to this by telling me it was my fault for finding out about the affair. In her words, she wasn't looking for a way out, but would have played the good housewife role for the rest of our lives if I just wouldn't have found out. I was disgusted by what I heard. Who was this person I thought I knew? Who I shared my life with? Who valued me so little that I was a throwaway object or at most only there to placate her wants and desires? She backpedaled and exclaimed, "This could be a good thing. We'll grow into something new. We will go on dates together and be excited to see each other again. If it's meant to be, we will get back together." Seriously? She said that. About a week later, I tried to meet up with her. She said she wanted to discuss the divorce. It really just ended up being her wanting to flirt with me and then control my advances. She'd say how much she cared about me, but if I tried to touch her, she'd say she wasn't ready for that yet. Since I had moved out, she insanely also moved out and was paying double rent by getting a nice city apartment just a couple of blocks from the bar we happened to be at. A few days later, she called me and asked me to meet up to discuss the paperwork. She tells me she cannot make it at the designated time, but to text her 2 hours later and we can meet up, and upon texting, she tells me she's up at the nearby family mountain cabin and that I should come up for the week and stay with her. Okay, I'll just cast aside all my integrity and the small amount of self-respect to jump back in the sack. No way, I won't go. I declined the invitation after stating the importance of going through the divorce process. She's angry that I'm not willing to drop everything in my life and come running up to the cabin. I asked her, what about the AP? And her response was, he broke up with her as soon as I was out of the picture. I guess karma is a fickle creature sometimes. We finally meet for coffee and I bring all the documents. Gushing comments pour out from her about how good I look and how well I seem to be doing. Nope, I'm devastated and this is not a game to me, lady. What's up? We cover the details about splitting up the house, of which she says she is entitled for more than half. I'm not to touch her 401k, and as a compromise, I get to keep my business untouched that I worked my bottom off on building for 10 years. We'll tidy the situation up as fast as possible. As I turn to make my exit, she pursues and follows me to my car, murmuring about things. Spinning on my heel, I ask if she has anything to say for herself. Frantically, I'm searching for remorse, perhaps a splinter of a shred of the person I thought who loved me. It spouts out in a phrase more akin to a question than an answer. I'm so sorry? For what? I asked. I'm sorry for what I did. It was a benign effort that reeked not of remorse in action, but a shell shock of being caught. In a way, it was helpful. It let me know my assumptions were now correct and that I knew where I stood. She wasn't sad because of anything she did, only that she had lost me as an asset with her cover blown and now wanted this man back in her life. This man who at one time would do absolutely anything for her. She asked me, what are we going to tell people? What are we going to say happened? Maybe we mutually decided to see other people or something. What's our story? Oh, okay. Yeah, our story? Well, you can say whatever you want, but I'm absolutely going to tell the truth. That you broke my heart, you stepped out on our marriage, and now you want your cake. I had enough. I don't need to create a story to feel better about myself. Okay, bye. End of the story, and thank you all for listening. Please like, comment, and share the story if you enjoyed it. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you will be notified when we upload the next video. Take care.